I want to take you somewhere today. A real place. It's about 100 miles south of Denver, sitting out in the high desert of Colorado, on 37 acres of nothing. From the outside, it don't look like much. Low buildings, wire fences, 12 gun towers. You'd drive past it on the highway and not think twice. But what's inside that fence is the worst prison in America. They call it ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies. The only federal Supermax in the entire country. And the people who run it, even the warden who ran it for years, call it a tomb, a mausoleum. He said straight up, people are there to die. So let me walk you through it. Because once you know what actually goes on inside, you can't really look at this country the same way again. First thing you need to understand, ADX ain't a regular prison. It holds about 400 men. That's it. Out of the entire federal prison population, tens of thousands of people locked up by the federal government, ADX holds less than 1/3 of 1%. So who do you have to be to end up here? You gotta be the worst they got. And I don't mean worst in the way the average person thinks. I mean, these are the names you'd recognize. The Unabomber was here. The Boston Marathon bomber is here. El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord, here. The shoe bomber from after 9/11, here. Cult leaders, mob bosses, terrorists, serial killers, the men who planned attacks that killed Americans. That's the population. The federal government calls them, in their own words, the worst of the worst. Now here's how they hold them. Every man in ADX lives in a cell by himself. Just him. Concrete cell, about 7 feet by 12 feet. They say it's the size of a parking spot. Think about that. You're living in a parking spot. Forever. Everything in that cell is made of concrete or metal that's bolted to the floor. The bed, concrete. The desk, concrete. The little stool, concrete. The toilet and sink, one combined steel piece. Even the mirror is metal, so you can't break it. There's a window, but it's a 4-inch slit. 4 inches. That's it. You can't see the sky right. You can't see another building. You can't tell what time of year it is sometimes. They designed it so you can't even tell where in the prison you are. The cell's soundproof, so you can't talk to nobody through the walls. You can't hear nobody. You're not just alone, you're sealed off, like they put you in a box and welded it shut. And you stay in that cell 22 to 24 hours a day, every single day, for years, sometimes for decades. Sometimes for the rest of your natural life. Now let me tell you what 23 hours alone in a parking spot does to a person. 'Cause I've been around the after effects of that kind of isolation, even though what I went through wasn't nothing compared to ADX. People come apart. They start talking to themselves. They start hearing things. They lose track of what's real and what they imagined. Some of them hurt themselves just to feel something. There's been hunger strikes, lawsuits. Men with serious mental illness wasting away in those cells because the system designed for the sane don't know what to do with somebody who's already cracked. How do people eat? They get food slid through a slot in the door. They don't sit down with nobody. They don't see the person feeding them. How do they get programs? education, religious services, all that, through a TV bolted to the wall, closed circuit. You watch a chaplain on a screen. You take a class through a TV. You're never in the same room with another human being who came to teach you something. How do they shower? In the cell. Got a shower right there. So you don't even leave for that. The one time most of them get out, for recreation, they get put in a different concrete room by themselves. Sometimes outside, in what they call a dog run, but still alone. Still no other people. Just a slightly different little box for a little while. Then back to the cell. And visits, here's the kicker. Visits are through glass. You don't touch your wife. You don't touch your kids if you got them. You sit on one side, they sit on the other, and you talk through a phone. For some of these men, that's the last human warmth they'll ever know. And even that's behind 2 inches of bulletproof glass. There's been one guy, and I want to tell you about him because it's wild, who actually got out. Did 15 years in ADX and solitary the whole time, and then walked out a free man. His name's John Powers. He'd escaped from another federal prison before, which is how he ended up there, and after 15 years in that hole, his sentence was up and they had to let him go. He said he didn't think he'd ever come out alive. Said he went through the flames to the edge of the pits. Imagine 15 years like that, and then they just open the door and you walk out into a world that don't even use the same phones anymore. How is somebody supposed to be a person again after that? And here's the thing that's really worth knowing, because this just happened. End of 2025, the federal government took 10 men whose death sentences had been commuted to life, meaning technically they got mercy from the previous president, and tried to ship them straight to ADX. Why? Because the new administration didn't like that they'd had their executions canceled. So they decided to put them in the worst place in the system on purpose, as punishment for not getting killed. A federal judge blocked it, said you can't just move men to ADX as a sham process to punish them for being shown mercy. The judge himself was appointed by the same party doing the move, and he still said no. He said the place is unmatched in its draconian conditions, and you don't send a man to spend the rest of his life in a cell the size of a parking spot with no human contact without due process. But think about what that tells you. The government tried to use ADX itself as a weapon, not to hold dangerous people, to hurt people they was mad at. That's how bad this place is. It's so bad that sending somebody there is its own form of punishment, separate from whatever sentence they actually got. The building itself is the punishment. And maybe somebody listening is going, yeah, but these are the worst men in the country. Who cares? And I hear you. I'm not standing up here trying to defend terrorists and cartel bosses. I'm not. Some of these men did unforgivable things, and I don't ever forget that. But I'm asking you to sit with something. Once you build a place this cruel, once a country builds a parking spot-sized concrete tomb where a human being lives alone for 30 years, you've crossed a line. And once you cross that line, the question becomes, who else ends up here? And who decides? Right now, there's men in ADX who haven't been convicted of anything as terrible as the Unabomber or El Chapo. There's men in there for prison disciplinary stuff. They were hard to handle, so they got buried alive. There's men with mental illness in there who never should have been in solitary at all. The place exists, and now everybody who runs the system has the option to send somebody there. That's the thing about cruel tools. they get used. That's ADX Florence, the worst prison in America. A clean-looking building in the Colorado desert where the government puts the men it never wants the public to see again, and where it's now trying to put more, just to make a point. I'll do more of these. There's worse prisons in the world, and there's prisons in this country that ain't a federal Supermax, but are doing damage in their own way. But I wanted to start here, 'cause ADX is the one most Americans don't know exists, and it's being run in their name. That's all I got. Be safe out there, and keep your eyes open, 'cause the worst place in the system might not be the one you think it is.